Like when you were trying to paint like the outskirts of this map over here, for example, like you like drop down and it's like, okay, I'm gonna paint this and then I'm moving this way and I'm painting this and I'm gonna go this way and I'm painting this. You're farther away from mid, and having center control is important in Splatoon in the same way that it is in chess. But the other thing in terms of like getting that paint is like you can get that paint from like this type of painting here. Your paint isn't going to look like this, or like the whole thing is fully covered in your ink, because it takes a long time to do. But if there's little areas that you want to hit, just hit them from mid and then now you're back here versus having to drop and do a bunch of other stuff. So that's just like a nice little just efficiency tip. We are blue team T-Tech. And for us specifically as the T-Tech, we just have to be careful about taking fights with Tetras. Otherwise, we can feel confident or even with the other three. So I don't want us to get caught in fights with Tetra when we don't need to. You can probably play for special because like we have good specials, and especially with like a crab, we can use that to push. I think we can play like a little bit more patient and composed in a lot of spots and make sure that we don't put ourselves in bad spots or get surprised by this Tetra is the biggest thing. And like, that's why I said like holding this toward the beginning and making sure we get paint around and stuff, we can get an idea of, you know, if Tetra's trying to push through and roll through mid, we don't want to get caught off guard. Like early on, like we want to take mid first. We want to clear this area. We definitely want to clear this area. It's not as bad in TC because there's just a pillow instead of the block, but there'll be a lot of action in this area, and it also extends into this choke over here. So this is kind of the main general areas that we want to cover, and I think we have good specials to be able to deal with it. The other thing with TC, we can also slow down and like paint for specials, establish a good paint presence, and have our specials ready, because Tri-Strike can help us with our pushing and stuff. There's a couple things about this. The first thing, we're jumping like max height, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to take a 1v1 with the Tetra. We want our teammates to be able to support. And if this person overcommits this way, like we have two people in mid that can like drop and assist. Hopefully, yeah. So our splash is able to survive. Again, we give up first checkpoint, but we can stop them pretty quickly after with our crab. So, you know, in a 2v3 in this spot, it's not too bad, but I want to make sure that we're taking it a little bit slow, making sure that we're establishing paint, getting bombs over on this pillar and like common areas that they might be sitting and sharking, and use the crab to stall, basically. Yeah. I like the measured approach, but again, we're putting ourselves into scenarios where we just don't have a lot of paint. Before we start moving forward, I want to make sure that we're establishing the paint. As we're moving this way, like, you know, get paint here, probably paint this, you know, I prioritize painting this area to make sure I'm not going to get pushed on. And then I'm just getting like just a little bit of paint in this type of area. I do want us to take space, but like we just need specials. We're not the faster team in this comp. We need to slow it down a little bit, and Tri-Strike is a great way for us to be able to do that. This is pretty reasonable, but it's unfortunate our teammates go down. So yeah, we're kind of just poking with bombs, and then we need to paint. It's like right here, you're marked your down team, like teammates, and the enemy team is going to be flooding through here like immediately. And that's something that we should know ahead of time. And like we still have this plan that like we're going to do something with the tower. If you do want to go for tower, then you have to move forward now and just take a fight, but we're marked, so I wouldn't advise it. And if we are going to position over here, then we're positioning here so that we can pre-fire. So like we're too focused on like, oh man, an opportunity is going to open up for us to be able to go in or go in this way and like get to tower. But we're not set up for this. We don't have the paint established. We're trying to take a fight that they know where we're at, and we don't know the timing on where they're at. So it's tough for us. After a push like that, yeah, like this is what the map's supposed to look like after you've been stuck in your base for so long. And like our teammates can't really, like the Luna can't really paint, but it also can't move forward and like do stuff either. So when we're breaking out here, I want us to play responsibly. So I like the bomb here, and like I like that you painted before you start taking this fight. This is awesome. This is what you need to be doing, so you give yourself options. That person was not tracking the camera properly. But in a spot like this, I don't want us to just run and like jump. I'd rather us just get paint over here, paint over top of this thing, and paint the one area that they could push you through. Like we're trying to take this like very honest fight when I don't think we want to be gambling like this. I think we're smart enough as players that we don't want to necessarily take these types of gambles. It's still very early in the game and I want us to get paint. Again, it goes back to like this team's going to be a lot more aggressive on average because of the Tetra, and we're going to be playing like we can play more disciplined because we have really strong team specials and we can push together well, but we need to give our teammates opportunities to get into the game, so we want to paint as much as we can. Good bomb. Yeah, still in these types of spots we just want to get paint. Sometimes it can be a tough concept, but there's a lot of scenarios where your special is actually a hindrance versus using your main weapon and getting value out of your main weapon. And it's important for us to identify when it's better for us to use our main weapon versus using the special. But this is a spot where you're like, oh man, like I can throw tri-strikes down, maybe we can get picks and stuff, but that doesn't need to be your role here. Are you actually more confident using tri-strike to get a pick on a Tetra, or do you feel more confident with your main weapon, you know? That's just the big thing that I've seen so far, is that you're just like throwing your tri-strikes out, like just you're just like crossing your fingers that something is gonna work in your favor. In this type of spot, I want this area to be painted our color, because like it's cool that you got the checkpoint, but it doesn't ultimately matter. You would have very easily gotten mid anyways by just getting paint. And because you don't get the paint initially and your teammates are losing fights, like now we're back in the same spot. Your teammates crab maybe a little bit early, but you know, I can't blame them. You also should be able to paint a ton and get a bunch of specials, so using the early one to stall is not too bad. This is a heads up play with the pick on that. I love that. But again, in the spot, get your general paint. We want to make sure that we're getting our paint. It's like, what are we doing? Like, what are we expecting from this tri-strike? Like, are we expecting this Luna Blaster to like not retreat or something, you know? It's like we're wasting a potential pushing tool. Tri-strike doesn't work like that. But anyways, as a short range shooter, one thing I noticed is that if we sit on mid and we just like jump paint and just get general paint and we move over this way and like we get paint all around here, it's shocking how much we can actually cover around the map. Like when you were trying to paint like the outskirts of this map over here, for example, like you like drop down and it's like, okay, I'm going to paint this and then I'm moving this way and I'm painting this and I'm going to go this way and I'm painting this. You're farther away from mid, and having center control is important in Splatoon in the same way that it is in chess. But the other thing in terms of like getting that paint is like you can get that paint from like this type of painting here. Your paint isn't going to look like this, or like the whole thing is fully covered in your ink, because it takes a long time to do. But if there's little areas that you want to hit, just hit them from mid and then now you're back here versus having to drop and do a bunch of other stuff. So that's just like a nice little just efficiency tip. But I like the carefulness around the person in the pit, and we let the hammer take care of it. This tri-strike is a lot better because we can actually like, our team can push in during an important time. Yeah, we're getting a little bit too focused on tower. This movement back here is just like, we're trying to figure out what we're supposed to do. And as we get better, like it's not just to say move forward, but instead of doing this, and then it's like, oh, okay, we can actually move forward now. Like there's small time windows that we have to be able to actually paint. The skill in playing a shooter weapon are these types of decisions, knowing, okay, there's a small window and there's a ton of areas that we could potentially need to cover. And then this area over here, there's a ton of stuff that we need to potentially look to cover as one of the two painting weapons on the team, and understanding what to prioritize, how to prioritize it, the spacing, you know, understanding the range of your paint, understanding the range of you getting shots, and being able to put that into perspective of this team versus this team. And that's what makes like a good shooter player. And when people cope and say that certain weapons are easy to use and brainless and whatever, like it's a toxic mentality that's only gonna like hinder the community. Like it's crazy in Splatoon, like we don't have like actual like paint guides. Like isn't that kind of crazy? Like Splatoon is a game about painting and we don't have proper ways of painting. Like we have some methods in terms of like, you know, you can move your controller up and down and you can get like this very nice paint, but that's not how you that's not always applicable, and like how you need to actually effectively paint. And like this is where you sit to get paint in these areas. And like I love the community, but like if we took this game a little bit more seriously, like we'd have like all these guides. It's tough though, because like it's boring. It's not gonna, there's only a small niche interest of people that would actually get value out of it, because most people don't care. If I had the energy and time, I'd love to make a guide. I'm with you. But it's a very interesting topic that's probably too dry for this community to want to digest. But yeah, again, in this type of spot, we don't need to worry about getting on tower. Ideally, we want to like push past it, or we can like use this potentially, but we want to hit paint in these areas and try to get information. And we're just too focused on like worrying about the tower instead of playing around it. And because we're so focused on getting on the tower, we lose our awareness everywhere else. Oh no. Dude, this poor Splash has gotten bullied all game for this this touch it. Yeah, this is a very just overall awkward scenario of like what's going on, but we can tap tower, but we just want to make sure that we're getting our paint when we're going in. I would much rather us just get paint out in this kind of scenario. I'd rather drop a bomb under this ledge and just very generally get paint. We don't need picks at this point. We need to provide information from our team. And because we have control of this dome area, if someone ends up, like if there's a T-Tech like over here, and as we start painting, if they pop out as we're like painting forward, then we can just retreat back and like stay out of their range. And if they keep trying to like fight us, then our teammates should eventually be able to come in and like support us. This isn't a bad play, but depending on the vision that they had, like they might know that you're sharking here. Yeah, I think they actually do see you because they do start taking shots, but they might also just be checking that. But I just don't like us taking this kind of fight here. We had high ground up here, and I'd rather us just get clean coverage so that it's easier for the rest of our team to be able to kind of move in. We can get paint, like we want to focus this area first because this is likely where people are going to be. From the dome, we can control all of this area for paint. I'd rather us leverage the control we have over here versus just immediately looking for a fight. So like we were sitting here and we like sat in this ink and we're like ready to drop on this person. We can throw a bomb like this and just get general paint and just like look at this coverage that we have. But I just want to demonstrate just like the overall paint range. How much value you can get out of painting and holding down this specific area. Like you just sit here and we chill. They can't sit behind this box. But like if they're trying to take this fight over here, you know, we should be able to win the spacing battle because we win the range battle. Yeah, and we're focused a little bit on tower versus the overall control, which yeah, there was that person still behind us that we might have tunneled and missed, but they splatted someone on our team. And then yeah, there's the splat happens over here. They ouch afterwards, and then we're so focused on this. To take lead, like Tri-Strike is like fine, I guess, but yeah, again, like our overall ability to survive and get more value, we probably can get more value with just using our main weapon and just painting. But we're very clumsy and we're not very deliberate with the way that we're positioning and what we're painting and everything. Yeah, like you heard that bomb over there and you dodged it, so that was good. I like your positioning to be more defensive here. This is fine. Again, I would be painting in this spot, which yeah, I think you're chilling. Yeah. Again, these are minor things, but like I wouldn't even jump off of this, and Tri-Strike's fine. There's no point in hyper-analyzing in this kind of scenario, but like we're very quick to give up our positioning. There's a lot of minor decisions that we make in terms of how we, like when we move forward, when we move back, where we're painting, when we're painting, how we're painting. All of these micro decisions, some of them have different layers of ramifications compared to others. And I don't think that we fully understand. I'm just going to put the word specials and we can kind of detail some of the specific parts of specials. One of the things that we have to consider is if we have a special ready, like how do we get good value? So like how do we get value out of a Tri-Strike? And again, this goes back to like, we don't really have a lot of great guides on this stuff as well. You kind of just have to watch good players and like figure it out. There was a couple of times when tower was moving forward and starting to break through this choke point where you're using Tri-Strikes to get like, to allow your teammates to move in. And those Tri-Strikes are definitely good, but you know, there's countless examples where, oh, I'm top mid. Just gonna throw some over here, even though our team's not ready to push. Oh, tower is ready. I'm just gonna sit on tower as it's moving forward. My poor Splash is getting bullied by a Tetra over here. I'm moving away from that fight, and instead of trying to support that, I'm just gonna throw Tri-Strikes over here. And, you know, maybe that Tri-Strike gets a pick. And like we're the first ones out, and we paint for a Tri-Strike, and there's a Luna somewhere probably back in one of these spots, and we just pop our Tri-Strikes and we just kind of throw them in random spots. So I just want us to be a little bit more deliberate. The other thing I would say is just like, which this is a very general concept that is really important, but it's main weapon versus special value. So how much value do you get out of not using your special and using your main weapon or sub weapon, or a combination of the two, versus how much value do we get from popping tri-strike? Because there was a lot of spots like this one where you were sitting on tower, moving away from the tetra that was bullying your splash. Like you just pop special when you could have just dropped off tower and assisted with that play. We put the pain out of the word paint because we didn't paint really well. We didn't focus on it. We were really focused on like the super slayer role. We want to use paint for info. We want to use it for control, and we want to use it for, I'm gonna try to fit the word mobility in here, but we want to allow for the rest of our teammates to be mobile. And something like a Luna Blaster, or if you play with a Carbon, or if you play with like any kind of Slayer, but it also is important for like short range shooters and just for yourself in general, where you're able to give yourself way more options by just painting. You know, it's not to say you shouldn't fight, because especially in a meta where there's a lot of like short range shooters and stuff, there's a lot of opportunities that we miss out on. You know, bullying something like a splash with our extra range, and you know, like there's definitely good advantages of where we can fight, but it's really important for us to make sure that we're establishing paint, because the biggest thing is like getting down good paint enables us to fight better and gives us better percentages when it comes to taking fights. And when we were sitting in this kind of situation here and we saw that their T-Tech was like moving out of spawn and stuff, like we immediately, like all of this was like enemy paint basically. And like we looked for an opportunity to drop on this person, which isn't the worst thing, but just getting general paint helps with the objective, and it gives you an easier opportunity either for you to take this fight, because you're safe up here. You don't need to like, you don't have to like drop and fight. Like if this person tries to take a fight with you and it's like this one-on-one or whatever, like if you stall this for long enough, the tower is moving this way. So like one of your teammates can move through and like clean it up. So we have to be comfortable like playing in control, and to see a fight play out over, you know, the course of 7 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Like these fights are like, as long as you know that you're an advantage by just like painting and holding control and having this high ground here, we don't like, there's spots where we can just avoid the fight. And if they want to sit here and just shoot at us for, you know, while the tower gets to this checkpoint, that's fine. That's cool. We're chilling. We want to make sure that we're managing our paint properly so that we, you know, once the timing hits, when we're, you know, when someone's pushing in, or the timing when, you know, maybe there's an opportunity where this person gets distracted and looking at something else, or maybe they look at tower and then you can jump on them at that point because you're like, they're not focused on you anymore. You also want to make sure that you're like managing your ink tank and everything, so that if you need to lead with a bomb or whatever, like, again, these are all super fine details of decisions that are important when you're playing a short range shooter that people tend to gloss over when they make general statements about certain weapons being very easy and certain weapons not taking any skill or not using your brain. It's like, yes, shooting the weapon is not difficult, but all these decisions are extra important for these shooter players and these supports, because these other two people cannot play the game if we're not painting. And in a lot of cases, your weapons were not able to play the game because they were unable to paint. This person was not able to play the game because they were getting bullied by this tetra all game long. And some of that we can assist them directly, and we can also assist them by providing paint. And the funny thing is, like, again, stats you have to put into context. And while outputting 7 ink strikes or tri-strikes is like not bad, I would probably say like 5 or 6 of these strikes were just wasted. And less than wasted, it was actually like negative value. Like they actually hindered your team with you using the special versus just painting instead. So that's the other thing that you want to consider. Like, it's good to have, like, we want to have good special output because that is an important concept, but you know, we have to balance between quality and quantity, and not every tri-strike has to be a game-winning tri-strike, but we need to, you know, when going back to when should we use our main weapon versus when should we use our special, that's something that we need to prioritize. If there's stuff that either you struggle on personally or you feel uncomfortable or you get punished in a lot of places, start with those. Have it be a more active process.